I say that. All right. So the first thing I think that that I want to talk about is some of the language that I've used 5 years ago, and the language we all see and read in books and on webinars, and for the same moments in the game and the same principles. We all use different terminology, and a lot of that terminology is, I think, to make ourselves look better and sound smarter. And I think it just clogs an understanding with our players, but also within staffs and within coaches. So, myself, I've gone over the last years just back from, really cool terms and making myself sound good and making myself feel good. And I read this new thing and Pep Guardiola this, and to really the basics and the general concepts. So what I think the problem is now, and just seeing all these game model presentations and all this, is the outside information kind of clogs it, brings it into the office, and everybody in the office, whatever staff you're with, brings all this, all these different terms for the same simple thing. And then you go on the training field, and that terminology changes again because you're coaching and it all has to be quick. And then the game is completely different. And I think that clogs players' minds. I think that makes a hard game even harder. So what I'm trying to get to is that the unpaper language, so the game models that everybody's talking about and writing down, or the planning before seasons, to me should be the actual language we use on the field and in games. So whatever happens, whatever is put on paper, whatever we talk about on a day-to-day basis in the office is actually something we would say on the training field and also in games. Without, we all know some of these terms that, they might sound good on paper, but we would never ever use them in games. And down the line, language is there to help a group or an individual do something you want them to do, not to sound better than it actually is. So my philosophy, and I'll go with that a little bit in a sec, but what actually happens in games. So our college game at Indiana University and the Big Ten and some of our out of conference games is completely different than what we're reading about most of the time. What happens in the Premier League or in Spain, it's completely, and even the NWSL, it's different. The game is different. And so to actually determine what happens in games, you're going to watch the game and you're going to observe like what moments happening in the games, and not just grab other models from different leagues and different standards and use that. And then who we're working with, and not just in terms of level or females or males, it's in general. It's like their understanding of concepts. How have they been taught? What culture are we working in? So for me, obviously, that's completely different working in the college game or back in the day in WSL. It's the level of understanding and the level of dedication is different. And we have to understand that. So to create a little bit more simplicity, I think, in what we're trying to do and how we're trying to accomplish things is I think this slide, and for me this sums it up. And so when this happens, so I'll go in a second, but we do this to accomplish this a certain way, this way. And the when, the what, the why, and the how, all that stuff. So I try to simplify that a little bit to make sure that everything we do and teach is based on this concept. So again, when this happens, and I'll show a little bit of an example in a second, we do this to accomplish something, the why, and how we do it is the detail. And people use principles or sub-principles or technical execution, whatever that may be, is how we do it. So for me, and this is, again, it's personal, and the only non-negotiable in my philosophy is that when we have the ball, we control the ball, and that's it. And I know there's different ways to score goals and move the ball to the field, and I fully agree with all of those. But for me, and from what I like to teach and what I think I know better than anything else, is and also the benefits of controlling the ball is the only non-negotiable. Everything else is up for grabs. So based on the players we have, based on the season, based on whatever the club you're working with or the team you're working with, the culture, you know, I think that varies. But for me, the only non-negotiable that I have is that we control the ball. And you can, you know, for me, control is obviously a broad term, but it's, we have possession of the ball, we control the ball, it's on the ground most of the time, and we have clear possession. So it's not consistently fighting for second balls or 50-50s. Nothing wrong with that. We do that as well. But when we have it, we don't want to get in that moment. So my way to install a way of playing, and I say my way is our way with our staff, not too many options. So too many options, obviously clock things, I think it makes things harder. Simplicity, I think simplicity in what we do. Clear language, like I talked about earlier, and then the detail comes from the how. So the detail doesn't come early on, or the jargon doesn't come early on. The detail really comes later. So to dive into that a little bit, a plan, which is always adjustable. So there's got to be a plan, a clear plan. I think gives the team confidence, gives the staff confidence. Terminology for the tasks in the plan. So again, clear terminology is really important. Consistent terminology. So not like one day you say defensive organization and the next day you use a completely different term. I think that has to stay consistent, and that's obviously the hardest part with all the external influences of social media and video and all that stuff. Clear terminology, I think that it's similar. It's something that is not too much jargon. It's very clear. It's short. It's concise, or it makes sense, or it sticks. So it or makes sense, or it's something that sticks. So it could be like a one word. It could be you know, 2 or 3 words, but something that is very sticks with the players, and they associate an action with that word. And then the terminology that works in the office, on the training field, and in games. I think that's the biggest difference. That, you know, it's something that we're not talking about one thing in the office and then we go on the training field and we're using completely different terms, because that's when every coach starts using different terms, and then the players, you know, I think it makes it all harder. So what I want to show is that there is a language for the when, the language for the what, and the language for the how. So the language for the when, and this is a little different than the most models you I think see. I want to talk about, so instead of having defending, attacking, possession, whatever that is, we just won the ball, we have the ball, we just lost the ball, they have the ball. I think it's easier terms, it's simple, there's a structure to it, and then there's chaos. So obviously, chaos is basically anytime the ball is not in possession of one of the teams, it's chaos. So the moment after a clearance, a long ball by the other team that's not to a certain player, or any ball bouncing in between 2 players. So chaos, a goal kick by a goalkeeper, you know, that goes long. Chaos moments, I think, are super important, and they probably happen more than anything else in the games we play. The language for the what, and it seems very, very simple and basic, but the 3 defensive terms we use, and I've used now for a little bit of time, is press, shape, and organize. It's simple. Again, it's terms that you would use, you know, on game day, but also in the office. And I think it will stick with our players more so than maybe some of the other terms. Attack and keep it, you know, I know it seems super basic, and especially keep it is it's, you know, I think now we have the possession with a purpose, whatever, but at the level we work at, and the level I work at, is that if you keep it long enough, and if you get enough numbers in around the ball, there's going to be opportunities for us to play forward. And playing forward then becomes attacking. So anytime we want somebody to take space or pass forward or go 1v1, it's attacking it. If not, it's keeping it. So those two situations are also terminology that we can coach the players from the sideline, or they can coach each other during the game. And then be ready is a big one. That's, basically be ready for what happens next. So we have the ball high up in the final third, where if I or one of our coaches or the players say be ready, basically mean that we're defending in possession, we're set up that just in case we lose the ball. And that happens obviously often. And the same happens that if we're defending, we're also being ready to attack for the counterattack. So being ready is critical. It's anticipation, it's reaction, but be ready kind of encompasses it all and kind of makes things simpler. The language for, sorry about these messages. Language for how we do what we do. And this is just an example. So the when, like I talked about, is we have the ball. The what is attack. Again, very, very broad. And then the how is to step in, to turn, to turn twice, but to pass forward, whatever that may be, is how we attack. 1v1. Early crosses, whatever that may be, and then the real detail comes in the execution. So again, it's the simplicity of the language, and the real detail comes in the final piece, and most of that is really technical or tactical, where some body positioning, some scanning, some receiving, the detail of how to cross the ball, where to cross the ball, all that stuff. So I want to go through kind of the model we use, or I've used, and again, I think you're going to see some real, simple terminology that might seem too basic, but again, I think it's useful to be simple this way. So chaos, the game is obviously very chaotic, especially the level we work at, and the college game with the substitution and the patterns and just the level itself, a lot of chaos moments. So it's key for us to win a majority of this to gain possession. So, but let's just say we just won one of these chaos moments. We just won the ball. So simple. We just won the ball. There's really two options. There's attack, or we can keep it. It's simple, and the benefit of the simplicity of these two options is that I can tell, or one player can tell the person next to them to either attack, which means, hey, let's go to goal and try to score, or just to keep possession. And keep it. It's safe. It's 100% passes. And based on obviously the opponent, the score, time of the game, the weather, field, whatever outside influences come in, or the plan for that game. But these are the two options. If let's say we decided to keep the ball, it becomes we have the ball. Now we have clear possession of the ball. We have the ball. We want to go attack. Obviously, the keeping it piece, we've kept the ball. We want to attack. So anytime we keeping it and moving the ball, we're basically trying to find moments to go attack. So whether that's lateral passing or passing backwards to create openings, but anytime we pass the ball or dribble the ball, we're looking to attack. So we're looking for space to go forward by dribbling or passing.